Welcome to Purpose Living Podcast. My name is Ponji, and this is
Jenny.
welcome to today's episode. Brand new one, going on week number 4. Episode number 4, let's put it that way. So super excited as we start to get into the season of holidays. Bunch of holidays happening, and we're getting closer to starting to think about the new year coming down the road. So today's topic is going to be
Visualizing your goals. So we are all about setting intentions because if we don't know where we are going and we don't have a clear direction of what we want to accomplish, we will wander and do this life aimlessly. And so purpose living is all about being intentional in every area of our life, and we really lean in and focus on our body, our mind, our spirit, our relationships, and our finances, but it's really in everything. Just being intentional, living with purpose, choosing to do actions based on what's really most important to us, and having clear vision, knowing what our goals are, and having that being specific and a clear direction, then we can decide what that path is to get there. But if we don't have our goals clear and written down, we are going to be GPSing all over, rerouting, recalculating, because we don't know where we're going, and there's no direction to get us there.
That's a new word for you, GPSing.
GPSing.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of things, and I love it because the way I like to think about visualization is like even for myself, right? I work with other athletes and I try to tell them like when they're getting ready to compete to visualize at each point of their race or whatever they're trying to do where they want to be, right? So that's why I actually love the idea of visualizing your goals. Actually looking and kind of like seeing, envisioning your goals and seeing what is going to happen and having a good concrete idea of what that looks like, right? That will keep you driving. And one thing I just want to talk about is the idea of goals, right? The way I see goals for me is, and I had this conversation with many other people a couple times ago. I think a lot of people kind of look at, when they think about goals, they think like, that's it. Like, that's the end of the road. But for me, I like to look at goals as checkpoints. All right, when I hit a goal, then I'm like, all right, boom, that means I'm on the right path of wherever I'm trying to get to. Continue to grow, right? Because as we all know, in life, we're just growing. It's just nonstop. Every day we're growing. So for me, I look at goals as checkpoints, right? And that's why I love the idea of visualize your goals, because you're looking at to see, okay, where am I heading to, right? And when you have that idea of where you're headed to, then you keep the momentum going because you know, like, I'm not there yet. I'm still growing.
Yeah, I think that is such a huge point, because if we aren't moving forward, if we aren't seeing what's next, we are going to go backwards just naturally. We very rarely stay the same. We're typically either going forward or going backwards. And so it is so important to recognize none of us have ever arrived. We have never just, oh, yep, I've achieved that goal. Now I don't ever have to think about it again. There is always a what's next, and how am I going to just, continue to move forward, continue to grow, just so that we don't fall into complacency, and then from complacency slowly start to go backwards.
Fantastic. So when you got a question up here that I want us to touch on, and I think this would be good for everybody to really think about. What area is most important for you to focus on? What area is most important? Can you dig a little bit deeper in that question?
Yeah, because oftentimes there's so much in life, that's going on and that we're dealing with. And so we cannot focus and really be super intentional with everything at once.
Yep.
And so really asking ourselves, okay, what right now in my life is the most important thing, and for me to focus on, to visualize, so that I can set clear goals for that area. For example, I knew our dream was to be able to start to do this and to be able to share and to live and do purpose living coaching and be able to walk beside others. But if we didn't have a super solid, strong marriage where we communicated well, we weren't going to be able to do this very well. And so setting a goal of having, our marriage mentors come in, being able to be intentional, like really leaning into the growth of our marriage was part of that visualization of our goals of having a healthy, thriving marriage. And so that was part of the path. But sometimes our goals are within goals, but we need to know what is most important for us to focus on, like right now in this season, and then knowing that we can build upon the other ones as they become the most relevant in maybe the next season.
Yeah, I mean, let's keep it 100. When she came to me and she's like, hey, we're going to do this thing and not that thing. It didn't go as smooth as you all think it went. Right?
Yeah.
Like, your boy was in some thinking for like weeks, right? But at the same time, just like she said, it's part of the vision that we had, right? And we were going to use something else, a different avenue of doing that. But then now we know exactly where we're trying to go to. And it takes a lot of communication, right? Mm-hmm. Communicating and just being on the same point, on the same part, and the same path that you're trying to travel. Mm-hmm. And I think for me, I was just kind of stuck on the same path that we were going to take and didn't really completely. Plus, there was a lot of things that was happening in my life at that moment. So when you say that, it's like, what? So at that moment, it's just, for me, it's just coming back to the question that you asked is what area is most important for you to focus on? And for me at that moment is my family, taking care of my kids, making sure that everybody's doing well and being closer. So I stepped away from coaching track so that I can be closer to my family for a decent amount of time, being closer to her, being closer to my kids, right? So and at that moment, I had to come back to the realization after we met with our marriage mentors and we talked about things and we finally have a good communication going. Like I finally realized that what is most important for me, right? And that is, well, our family has to be moving in the right direction together. It can't be just us moving in a separate direction, right? And we're still working through all those things. It's not something that we all like gurus or anything. It's something that you continue to work and you continue to learn and you continue to make adjustments and you continue to learn. But what is key for us is we realize that this is what is important for us as a family, right? For the two of us, it's just being on the same page and making sure that we are riding along in the same path with the same mindset of what we're trying to achieve. Now, how we go by doing things might be completely different, right? Mm-hmm. She's blessed with something that is completely different than I am blessed with. So we balance each other out, respecting each other's abilities and gifts that we have, right? And just making sure. It got to the point that I had to tell her, like, hey, listen, this is your vision. Well, it's when it comes to, in totality, it's our vision, but what we're going to use to drive us to the place that we're trying to get to, she has it, right? And I'm like, you got to take control of this. Like, you take ownership of it. Whatever you need me to do, I'm going to go do it, right? And we had to come to that understanding, and that was a place that helped us quite a bit too. And it takes a lot of communication for us to be on the same page. So it was really helpful knowing exactly what is important for us as a family, what is important for us together to help our children get in the place that we want them to be in. So.
Yeah, and that's like visualizing your goals. Yes, it can be very personal, like in your physical health and your emotional, spiritual health, all of those things. But it's anything that we're doing. Like this whole, coaching practice was a vision deep inside my heart for 10 years. And I had to see that goal. And then what's that best next step? What's that best next step? So it's really applies to anything in your life and anywhere you want to go. But the first question to really ask yourself is, what do you want to accomplish? Mm-hmm. Like exactly, clearly, what do you want to accomplish? And then take away any fear. So if I knew I couldn't fail, what do I want to accomplish?
Well, that's good.
Because if we always think of why we couldn't or what's going to stop us or have that doubt or have that fear, it will hold us back from taking that first step.
Yeah.
So really leaning into, if I knew failure was not an option, I was going to achieve my goals, what do I want to accomplish? And I would just encourage you to, as a person of faith, like really taking in and sitting down with God and asking Him to write your goals with you and really lean into, all right, Lord, here I am, me and you. What should my goals be that I can fulfill the plans and purpose that you have for my life? Because I know that they are bigger and better than anything I can think of for myself. Because the Lord wants us to be whole and healthy and thriving in every area. He paid for that. And for us to be able to actually step into that, we have to see what that looks like and then partner with Him to be able to actually achieve those things, because we do have all free will. And so, yes, we, to be healthy and whole, it takes some responsibility on our end too. Like, it's not just pray and then it happens. It's pray and then walking with God, setting those goals, and then actually taking the action and the steps necessary in order to achieve them. But that's why I share, like, get rid of the if, like, you knew you couldn't fail, like, get rid of all that failure, get rid of all that doubt, and write down your goals as if you knew you could achieve them. But then write them down with the Lord leading them, because then you can come and not just do it in your own strength, but by the strength that He provides you to take that right next step for yourself.
Yeah, I mean, it makes you think about just the idea. This could be challenging, right? Just take the thought process of what is in for me and put the idea of what is God going to use this for. Right? What is this in for me, and then put God in there and ask, what is God going to use this? What could God do with this? I think when you put yourself in that position, then in that thought process, you realize that, man, you can achieve so much more, because it does not become about you anymore. Right? And when you start to think that it's not so much so about me, it's about, like, what can God do? And if you're a person of faith, or if you're not, just ask yourself the same question, like, what would happen if I decided that it is not going to be so much so about me, but about impacting other people's lives? Right? If I can impact other people's lives. Because that is, at the end of the day, as much as we like to think that it is like, what's the word that you use? It is individual. It's not. Because I can guarantee you there's a lot of things that you have achieved or you've done on this earth that has impacted other people around you. And if you go back and you ask people around you, and they'll tell you. Right? So a lot of times, like, the things that we are called to do, it is not so much so about what is in for me. It is so much so about, okay, what can God use this for? Right? And that is impacting other people around us.
Yep. And actually, that is what our episode will be about next week, is understanding why it matters.
I am
so
200 miles ahead.
He's pre-graming that. No, because it is important, because every decision we make does ripple into every person around us. Like, if I don't take care of myself, my kids are not going to get the best mama. My husband is not going to get a very good wife. Like, it does feed into each other. But let's go back and lean back into, okay, setting our goals and what do we want to accomplish? And if we knew we couldn't fail, what do we want to accomplish? And then let's lean into that, like, getting super clear with what that looks like. So let's just say, for example, I want to lose 30 pounds and I want to start to get active. Okay, what does that mean? What does that look like? So you want to lose 30 pounds. Why do you want to lose that 30 pounds? Do you want to have more confidence in your skin? Do you want to create more energy? Is there certain activities you would like to do? Are you wanting to establish healthy eating habits for your family? Are you wanting to be able to, get off the floor and play with your kids? Are you wanting to be able to bend over and tie your shoes without a struggle? Go up the stairs without feeling winded? Like, let's lean into the process of what we want to accomplish and not just the surface level of it. Because if it's just surface level, we'll just be like, yeah, that would be nice, cool. But if we get to the depths of, like, the why, and really, like, the exact details of what we want to accomplish, then it is a game changer.
Yeah, I mean, you got to cut a little bit deeper, right? Just like we talked about last week. Like, if you have a big wound, you can't put a little Band-Aid on it and think that it's going to fix it. You got to cut yourself a little bit deeper, operate on yourself a little bit deeper, and then get super specific, like she said, and clear. Having a clear direction of, okay, God, how do I achieve this? Right? It is not so much so about, it's not, so willpower is something that a lot of people, listen, we all can't do it by ourselves, right? If we can, we'd be good, but we can't. So when it comes to finding clarity, for me, is sitting with God and saying, okay, God, what does this truly look like in my life? And after that, what steps do I need to take? When those steps are given, you have to take it. Let's be honest. With our business, with our coaching right now, right? I'm trying to start. I want to start a track club and running club, and it's like, well, you need to find a place for the winter to do things. Well, I know I needed to start a running club. If I sit back and said, okay, God, I need a winter place that I can do this and this and this, it ain't just gonna fall from the skies and just happen, right? We have to take steps into finding facilities to do that. So I have to reach out to certain places and see if it works, it works. If it doesn't, maybe it's not meant to be, right? Maybe down the road, it might open down the road. So it is going to be also our part to take responsibility of taking the actions to making the things happen. And what is meant to happen, God is going to make it happen. So another thing also to think about is just like what I love about life is just like the hope that you get when you start moving. There's hope in moving. When I think about hope, I think about momentum.
Yeah.
When you see it, there's nothing that will stop you. You're like, you know what? I know this is what I need to do in order for me to get there. And the small wins that you have, take them, embrace them, and run with it. Because that is what is going to keep you alive and is going to keep you moving. And that's what I think about when I think about hope. Well, let's find the next momentum thing to keep me moving, right? And the moment we stay steady moving, then the actions are going to help us get to where we need to be.
Yeah. And we will in a couple of weeks actually really go through how to create a plan of action, like really get that and train on that really strongly. But right now, really lean into what do you want to accomplish in just different areas of your life, but then lean into, okay, what's going to make the biggest, most important impact right now? Because we can't tackle everything today. So we really want to just say, okay, what is maybe 1 to 2 areas that I want to focus on? It might be marriage and parenting. It might be on your physical health. It might be getting a solid sleep routine because you aren't sleeping very well. So it doesn't matter what it is, but just pick 1 to 2 and then get clear on what does that look like? What are your goals? So let's pretend it's sleep, something simple like that. So how are you going to set up your evening routine? Are you going to turn off your blue light and any screens at least 30 to 60 minutes before bed so you can have a solid bedtime? Are you going to be able to take out all the lights and anything that's maybe distracting you when you sleep? Are you going to take your phone and put it in a different room so that way it doesn't ding or flash? How can you set up a really good solid evening routine so that you can get better sleep and then wake up more refreshed? So getting clear with what your goals are, what you want to focus on, and then understanding why. Why do you want a solid sleep routine? Is that going to give you better energy for the day? Are you going to wake up and not feel like you just want to stay in bed? Are you not going to be grumpy with the people you interact with in the morning? Why is this even important? We really want to dive in and lean into knowing that process. So taking some time to sit with it and be like, what are my goals? And if I knew I couldn't fail, what would my goals be? And right now, maybe you're not thinking of all the action, but get clear with where you're going. So that way in the future, we can create some action steps. But if we do not know where we want to go, we sure aren't going to get there. So let's lean into what's going to make the biggest impact in my life right now if I make some changes and to develop some healthy strategy to start to, get direction there. But once you know that and you have it written down, and it's clear and you can read it, to something for me, I had to get clear with, I have a healthy relationship with food. Like I had to just get that inside of me that I have a healthy relationship with food. It doesn't control me. I don't use it for emotions. I don't use it for whatever. But for a long time, I didn't. But until I knew that's where I was going, I wasn't going to stay stuck at where I was. I was going to develop that healthy relationship with food because God wanted me to develop that healthy relationship with food. Then I could start taking those necessary steps to actually make that my reality.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. And that's for me, and that's what I see when I see visualization, right? You just start writing things down. You don't have to know exactly where you go. You just gotta take a step. When you start taking the step, then you know exactly. Then you can start to piece the pieces together, and then you know exactly where you're headed and what path you need to be on. So that's what I love about visualization, because actually sometimes we might start doing things that we don't even know why we're starting to do it. But the moment we start to put the pieces together, piece by piece, then you're like, okay, now I know now I see the big picture. Now I know why I need to do this now, right? It's almost like you find a new motivation to actually get going, right? And when you do that, then, the end of it is, hey, all the actions and everything else. So
I do want to share something.
Tag us in.
Okay, so the reason why visualizing our goals is so important is because then we know the destination of where we're going, and we have that super clear. So the destination stays solid no matter what. The path can change. So you might try steps and they didn't work, and you're still trying to get to that destination, and you might have to reroute to get back to a path that's going to take you there. Don't give up because one thing didn't work. If, let's say, I gave up on having a strong communication with my husband because the marriage mentorship thing didn't work out, then where would we be? Fortunately, it was very helpful. However, I just want to share that because sometimes we can try and then it didn't look exactly like we wanted it to look, and be like, whatever, I can't do it, I give up. So I just want to encourage you, get your goals so strong inside of you where it's not if I can, it's how can I? And that how might change, and it might adapt, and it might flow. And so continue just to press forward, knowing that as you set your goals with God, that the path will become more clear as you go, but you just got to take that first step and not give up, and have support around you. The more community and more people you have around you that can believe in you and cheer you on or pick you up when you fall down, it does make a huge difference. So don't try to do it all alone, because it won't be as fun. But sometimes we are down and we need that person just to believe in us when we don't believe in ourselves. So wherever you're going, just get clear with it and then just say, how can I? How can I? And then that process will start to evolve, and before you know it, you'll create win after win after winner, and then you're going to say, what's next? What's next? And that's where the fun begins.
And just to add on to what you said, one of my friends called me out on this. He said, take the words trying out of your vocabulary. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, just do it. Make it work. And that's what I think about. And to be honest with you, when I'm talking, I literally think, I try to be conscious, I'm not going to say try. I'm not going to say try. I'm going to do it, right? And it's so true. Because if you think trying, no, work. You have the knowledge. And just because it didn't work out, or you tried the first time and it didn't work, doesn't mean it's not going to work. We are meant to continue to, it's I forgot who said this, but he said, if you try once, it doesn't work, get up and try it again. Right? And he talked about the idea of, okay, your goals, I have it on my phone, but my phone is somewhere else. But you have a plan, right? And you're trying to reach to where you're going. Just like she said, how you're trying to get there will change. But the plan is always going to be the same. Right? So that means I might need to take something out and bring something new and try to see if that's going to work. Right? Think about it. The light bulb. If the guy who created a light bulb decided, man, I've tried this so many times. They said he tried it so many times, 1,000 times. before he got it right, right? If he doesn't give up, we're gonna be sitting in the dark.
Yeah, no, and that's where actually, so a book by Craig Rochelle was "We're not trying, we're training," and that is, you know, the game changer is I'm not going to try to get healthy. I'm not going to try to grow my faith. I'm not going to try to have a good marriage. I'm going to train and I'm going to work at it. I'm going to take the necessary steps to be
That's a
able to
good way
do
to put
that.
it.
So we are purpose living and we are training to do life God's way.